Today we're going to answer the most common question that lands in my inbox every single day. What's the difference between UX and UI? By the end of this video, you should be able to understand the differences between each role. And yes, it is two separate roles. First, let's establish what UX and UI stands for. UX stands for user experience and UI stands for user interface. But still, what's the difference? User experience is about designing the whole experience as a whole. UI design or user interface design is solely about the aesthetics and how things look. Still confused? Let's take a look at this example. A UX designer would have helped establish what type of features would have need to be involved within the product, how they work and how you feel when using them. In order to do this, they would have conducted research, digest a bunch of data to establish what type of features would need to be involved within this product. They would have also tested this feature with a large audience, whether that's through usability testing or some other form of testing in order to define this feature. A UI designer would have also taken part in designing the experience, but they would solely be concentrating on how things look by using color, typography, spacing, alignment in order to make the content more digestible. Both roles are working towards the common goal and both complement each other. They both do not work without one another, and you can't have a usable experience without each other. So where do both fit into the process and which role should you be doing? This depends. If you work as a freelancer, then the likelihood is you'll be doing both roles. I personally do both roles at where I work, even though my title is Senior UX Designer. But I'm still responsible for doing all of the UX, the research, and then doing the UI side of it as well. If you work for a large organization, these roles are usually broken down into separate little entities. You sometimes have a UX researcher whose sole job is to conduct UX research only. Then you have the UX designer whose job is to solely conduct the user experience part of it. They'd be using the research that was conducted by the UX researcher. They'd be doing different wireframes. And then it would be passed over to the UI designer, who again solely interacts and thinks about the aesthetics and don't touch any other part of that process. So what you need to look for when you're applying for roles? Well, the industry is forever changing. You will see roles out there for UX designer who asks for the UX research and the UI side of it. You may see job roles solely for UI designer if that's something you're more interested in, so the more the aesthetic side, then that role would be specific for you. You may even see job titles out there called product designer. In my eyes, a product designer is the same as a UX designer. Maybe I will do a whole video on that in the future. If that's something you're interested in, then let me know in the comments. But from my perspective, it's the same role. If you're confident in the whole process, then I highly suggest applying for roles which is UX and UI designer or product designer. If you feel like you're more suited to just UI design, then apply for UI designer. If you feel like that your UI isn't up to scratch and you're really not interested in it, that's completely fine. I work with tons of UX designers who solely do the UX and never touch the UI. And if that's something you're interested in, apply for those type of roles. But I would suggest really reading the job description and making sure that's exactly what they're looking for. Because most of the time, there's a recruiter who doesn't really understand the role and just puts out the title that they think deemed fit for the role, even though they may be looking for a UX designer or UX UI designer or product designer or even just a UX researcher. The job title sometimes isn't what determines what the role is. Always read the description within the requirements. If you have any questions, then please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, then please consider subscribing to this channel. I am really trying to grow it, so anything you do can help. I'd be super grateful. If you're on the lookout for a UX mentor, I offer one-on-one mentoring sessions over on my super peer. If that's something you're interested in, then again, there's a link in the description below. I also have a newsletter that gets sent out every single month, again with loads of resources and information about UX. If that's something you're interested in, then please consider subscribing. There's a link in the description where you can just sign up for my newsletter. And until next time, bye!